A short time ago, U.S. Senator Thom Tillis discussed a recent trip to the southern U.S. border. Tillis was part of a bipartisan group of senators who traveled to Texas and Arizona. He says he believes it was a productive visit. Tillis says he believes Democratic colleagues understand what he means by the need to secure the border.
We've got to do the work to educate our members to understand why it's on Congress to act. It's not easy. It's one of the most difficult subjects that you could possibly be willing to address in Congress, but it's critically important.
Tillis also says if the American public understands what Republicans mean by abuses of asylum system, it would create an environment where they can make progress.
What is the best way, you think, to actually address this crisis on the border? Because you and I have talked about this before.
Sure.
It seems to me with the Democratic Senate and White House, there is a big comprehensive immigration bill to be done that includes a huge border security component.
Yeah, look, impeachment is in case of emergency break glass, and it seems as if we have taken that to a common thing. It shouldn't be a common thing. Look, the DHS Secretary Mayorkas has made a lot of mistakes, and there's clearly a lot of people upset. My approach has not been to shun them per se, but to go to the administration and work with them. And also, impeachment hearings are going to take place. Where that takes us, I don't know where it is, but that's going to be, who knows how many months that's going to be. I look at the president's visit to the border, and the president could have had a layup. They could have had me there. I didn't ask to be on Air Force One. All I wanted to do was have a policy discussion. When I hosted him in Uvalde, I didn't embarrass him. It's the president of the United States. I want to have a more clear discussion. But if they can't make layups, how are they going to make three-pointers? And if they don't want to meet with me, what Republicans are they going to meet with?
Right. And you've called the president's trip to the border a partisan trip. A White House official responded to your complaint saying that they were not able to accommodate all requests from Democrats and from Republicans and Democrats alike due to space constraints. What's your response to that?
Yeah, once again, I didn't ask to be on the plane. I would have met him at the tarmac. I would have met him any of these facilities. 5 minutes aside. And what really upset me was when I met with him in Uvalde, I specifically asked the president, Mr. President, now's not the time or place, but I'd like to meet with you on the border, whether at the border or at the White House. He agreed to that. He called over one of his aides and said, hey, I want to get Tony in the White House for us to have a discussion. 7 months later, nothing. So it tells me it's very frustrating, but I'm not going to give up. I'm a retired Master Chief. You go over, under, or through. You have to find solutions, not rhetoric. So that's what I'm focused on.
Is there a comprehensive immigration reform bill that does something about the Dreamers and does something about the more humanitarian aspects of this that maybe Democrats are pushing for, that also adds to border security that you want and you're hearing from your constituent? But I guess my question is, there's no will for it that I can see.
I think it starts with having a dialogue. Who is willing to sit down and have a discussion? To me, my energy is solely focused on border security. If I can't have a conversation on that, how can we move to the more contentious topics? I will tell you, I had a conversation with Senator Cornyn today. I was really pleased to see the Senate come together in a bipartisan manner and do this border trip. I think that's a promising move. Those are kind of things that we need to have a discussion. Hey, what are the parameters? To me, it starts with border security. But if nobody will sit down with me, how can we get to step 2, 3, and 4 if we can't get off the starting blocks?
I also want to ask you, because you were the only Republican to vote no on the new House rules package, you cited threats to the defense budget as a result of not what's in the rules package, I don't think, but these side deals, side agreements that Speaker McCarthy has made. Republicans traditionally were more on your page when it came to the defense budget, but they don't seem to be bothered by it now. What's going on?
Jake, I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. I mean, like you mentioned, historically, Republicans were hawkish on defense, and it seems that it has changed. I spent 20 years in the military. I don't believe in having cuts without reforms. I'm happy to have the conversation, but let's talk about what was going to reforms in order, defense reforms, in order to get to it. If you're just going to cut without reforms, all you're doing is cutting off your nose in spite of your face, and it makes us weaker. We also have to protect our allies, like Ukraine, like Taiwan, and invest more in Central and South America. The president of Mexico basically made a point to go, I never see you. The United States doesn't play a role here. Why are you having this discussion now? These are some of the things I think the American defense should focus on.
Any blowback from House leadership for voting no on the rules package?
I was very clear with leadership early on. And when you look at it, this wasn't an anti-leadership vote. It was really a pro-leadership vote. Another reason why I voted no was I didn't want to see the circus that was last week play out month after month. We have real problems in this country. You know, the border's one, immigration reform's another, healthcare, education. I mean, the list goes on and on. How do we come together and solve this? I don't want to see, you know, as much that C-SPAN got. I mean, I don't want people watching C-SPAN. I want people watching the Congress deliver real results for everybody.
And just the last question I have is Congresswoman Nancy Mace, a Republican of South Carolina. She's been pretty outspoken, saying she wants to know what compromises, what deals McCarthy made. I mean, this is my words, not hers, but it's the people's house, not Kevin McCarthy's house. Yeah. Do you want to see that list?
You know what, Jake? You have a limited amount of energy. My focus is on forward. Like, how do we secure the border? And I'm all in on that. How do we talk about immigration reform? How do we school safety? I mean, these are things that are important to the American public. What I will say, though, in the 118th Congress, there is real power in rank and file members. I mean, the margins are so small. 5 members of Congress can shape things. So I'm focused on making sure that we have meaningful legislation, not get stuck into what was given, what was not given, what are these promises. I mean, that's all D.C. politics stuff. I have no interest in that. I came to Washington to serve for the district, serve for the country.
All right, Republican Congressman Tony Gonzales of Texas, thank you so much. Always good to see you, sir.
Thanks, Jake.
I started doing it. I go out, whether it's at midnight, 1 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I go to the airport. I go to different areas. And I wanted just to take pictures to document as I was seeing it, not ever thinking I would be using it and showing it to the president. But I was very thankful that he came to El Paso. And I wanted him to see what I saw through my eyes day in and day out. You saw people in the streets or at the airport and the crisis that we've been dealing with. And he, like I said, he looked at the book. We went through every page, and he really looked at him and saw that we are in a crisis.
Another makeshift raft making landfall off the Florida Keys. On board, wet clothes next to a towel resembling a $100 bill. U.S. Border Patrol tweeting with it, 19 migrants were encountered. Hundreds of Cuban and Haitian migrants touching ground since the new year. In response, Governor Ron DeSantis calling on the National Guard and over 100 guardsmen.
All of this is going to help deter that and help us if they do make landing.
On Friday, DeSantis declaring a state of emergency, providing a dozen planes, helicopters, and bolstering Marine patrols. For weeks now, local officials pleading for more support.
I'm experiencing about 10 migrant loads come in a day in my small county, which for me, resource-wise, is very challenging.
Dry Tortugas National Park shutting down temporarily last week, overwhelmed with migrants, some needing medical care. Over the weekend, authorities responding to 2 landings with at least 53 Cuban migrants, and in Puerto Rico, Coast Guard rescuing 19 Haitians who say they were abandoned by smugglers on this cliff. Last week, President Joe Biden announcing every month 30,000 migrants coming from Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua, or Haiti will be accepted, but they must enter the country legally.
If you're trying to leave Cuba, Nicaragua, or Haiti, or have agreed to begin a journey to America, do not just show up at the border.
A message they hope will reach asylum seekers risking their life to flee political and economic crisis.
I think that there's a lot of people already on the way, which makes it difficult because what do? Stop and go back? You know, they've already paid certain coyotes to get to the point where they've reached.
Republicans, including Senator Marco Rubio and Keys Representative Carlos Jimenez, calling on the administration to do more. Rubio and Jimenez's staff traveling to South Florida to speak with the Coast Guard. All hands on deck as the surge of migrants arriving continues on land and water.